Hey, I have 3 pretty big announcements to make, and after that, I'll be answering your questions. Okay, so the first thing is pretty obvious. I am bald and I have new glasses. I was kind of going bald naturally anyway, so I just decided to buzz it off. And the glasses just fit this new hairstyle a little better. And I'm also, at least my hair is kind of pink. That's because one day before going bald, I decided that this was my one chance to try some crazy hair color, so I painted my hair red, but that should go away. However, the baldness and the glasses are probably gonna stay because I kind of like them a lot. What do you guys think? Number 2 is that TechAltar now has a new logo. Yes, you saw that correctly. I'm still working on an intro animation and a couple of other things. I want to upgrade the whole visuals of the whole channel. I'm also working on merch. I know I told you about a year ago that I was working on merch for the first time, but this time it's actually happening. And with the new logo, with new visuals, I think it will look pretty great. Let me know what you think about the new logo. And the third thing is that I quit my full-time job and YouTube is finally my main thing now. It's not going to be my only thing for very long because I'm also working on another very cool project that I'm very excited to soon be sharing with you guys because I think you guys will love it. But for now, YouTube is my main thing and I'm gonna have a lot more time to spend on it. So this means more videos and better videos. I actually want to do at least 2 full-sized, something like the story behind series videos a month, at least. And I also want these videos to be bigger in scope. So I want them to be more professionally animated, with even more research and just bigger in scope. So for example, one video that I'm really excited about is my upcoming LG video where I actually went to Korea to interview people from the company and look at their R&D facilities to really understand what they're doing to turn their mobile business around. Stuff like this takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort, but I really hope that you guys will appreciate it. And then the other kind of video that I want to make more of is just this, because those other types of videos take so much time to make that I need fillers, and we're gonna be talking to each other through this camera much more in the future. Okay, so that's it for the announcements, and now let's jump over to your questions, which you guys sent me on Twitter and on Facebook. Now's probably a really good time to plug the fact that you should probably follow me on Twitter and on Facebook and on Instagram, because that's where a lot of the conversation is happening. Okay, so some warm-up questions first. What's my actual name? Very good. I'm actually called Martin, which is the Hungarian version of Martin, which is what everyone on the internet has just decided to call me. What did I study? I actually studied international business. And what's my primary device? Okay, I still use the LG G6 to this day as my primary device, even though the screen is broken and the back glass is broken. I do have the G7 in for testing. I will get the Nokia 7 Plus in a couple of days for testing as well. I'll decide if it's worth the upgrade, but generally, I just realized that I don't care too much about upgrading my devices anymore. As long as they work, I'm fine with whatever I had a year ago. Okay, so let's move on to the more complicated questions. And unsurprisingly, many of you asked me about Xiaomi and specifically why they advertise in their MIUI stock apps so much, why they're pushing ads. I actually have a full video explaining all of the details that is coming tomorrow, so subscribe, or it'll be here in the cards if it's already online. But basically, MIUI is their whole money-making plan going forward. Since they're not making money on hardware, they'll use MIUI to make a ton of money. Okay, so there are 2 very similar questions asking whether OnePlus and Xiaomi can stay competitive, even though they're both going into a more premium direction with higher prices. And I think they have to try. Because what most geeks don't understand about business is that a company without proper margins can simply not become dominant on the long term. If you don't have proper margins, you cannot invest into hiring the best people, you cannot invest into developing the best technologies, and you cannot invest into having the best marketing in the world. So if you can't do those things, you can't be very effective as a company. And in order to do those things, you'll have to keep raising money from outside. So that's why Xiaomi is doing their IPO right now to raise supposedly $10 billion. But the problem is, if you don't show a path to real profitability, investors will simply not give you money, or if they will give you money, they'll give it to you very expensively. So these companies will have to improve their profitability on the long run, otherwise they will simply not become globally relevant top-tier players. And if you're wondering how the 5% profit limit that Xiaomi announced lines up with this, I'll have a whole video explaining that tomorrow, so subscribe. And then there are questions about the notch. And here's the thing. I don't really like the notch. I think it's a little bit better on phones like the G7 where you can kind of, turn it off, but it's not great design in my opinion. But I do remember that when we were in Korea, we asked LG why they included the notch. And they told us that they made market research with over 1,000 people, and apparently the overwhelming majority either didn't mind the notch or actually preferred it for the extra screen real estate. So I wonder whether this is once again just a topic that we tech enthusiasts in our bubble deeply care about and deeply hate, when in reality the majority of the normal people just doesn't care about it at all. And I mean, I know most companies, these big ones like LG and Huawei and Oppo and Apple, they have a ton of money and they do market research. And I'm sure they all must have come to the conclusion that the notch is probably fine for the majority of the people. Okay, so the next question I'll actually break down into two parts. First of all, does European tech have a chance to get revived? And is there any company that can reach a truly large $100 billion global valuation? I have to say I'm not very positive in general. Europe is not on the forefront in things like AI and IoT, virtual reality, augmented reality. I feel like even European car companies, which used to be very dominant on the global scale, are kind of falling behind more agile companies like Tesla when it comes to autonomous driving and things like electric vehicles. So in general, I don't see the spark. I don't see the one company that is so amazing that it will go past that $100 billion valuation mark. The one new company from Europe that I am personally very excited about is HMD Global. I think they've done fantastic in their first years. Their sales are fantastic. I heard from a analyst that something like 70% of people in the West would still consider buying a Nokia branded phone if they found it attractive enough, which is crazy. It means that HMD Global has to spend so much less on marketing. The marketing is already done for them. They have good sales channels on a global level in their first year. It's really going quite fantastic for them. The one thing that I would really want them to do is to become a kick-ass camera phone company again, because that used to be their legacy. I feel like they're okay, but they're not amazing in that category. And in order to become a truly global player, I really feel like they have to do very well in that department. Okay, the last group, many questions about Microsoft and how they are pivoting away from things like Windows Mobile and Windows over to things like the cloud and AI. And I have to admit something here. I was pretty wrong about Windows 10 Mobile. See, Microsoft has been working on re-architecting their OS so that their mobile platform and their PC platform could finally come together. And I think with Windows 10 Mobile, they achieved this, at least on the application layer, right? You could write one app that could run on either of those two things, or on the HoloLens or any other crazy things. And I thought that this was it, right? This is kind of where they always wanted to go. But what happened is that Microsoft decided, whether they were right or not wrong, I don't know. They decided that they finally arrived, but it was too late. At this point, the market has moved on. And even though they've finally achieved what they wanted to do, it was simply not worth pursuing anymore. And then they just basically backed out from Windows 10 Mobile. I mean, the support was kind of the phones that they released with were pretty uninspiring. They didn't do a lot of marketing for it. And even though I thought it had a lot of potential, because I mean, they finally did the most important part of their re-architecting, it was simply put too late. Even so, I am quite intrigued by this whole Andromeda thing. And I know it's not a phone, but it kind of looks like a phone. And Microsoft has burned their customers 3 times in a row with different versions of Windows Phone and Windows Mobile. So I can't imagine how they'll be able to get a lot of people excited about this and how they'll be able to convince people to trust them that this time is the time. But I mean, hey, I'll keep my eyes open and I'll definitely report on it if there's anything interesting to report on. For the future of Microsoft, I really think they have a bright, very profitable future. I think Azure Sphere is something that very few people, at least in my community, pay attention to, but I think will be a really important part of their business. We'll see. I'll keep reporting on it. Okay, so no more time for questions, I'm afraid, but be sure to follow me on Twitter because that's where a lot of this conversation is happening. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell button because the next couple of videos will be very exciting as well, and I'll see you in the next one.